Now, like I was saying, last week we had that opportunity to be able to look into the lenses, and in relation to lenses, we had two classes. That there was one particular class when we met for the normal class, and because there is a particular Monday that we had actually missed the class, I had requested that we can be able to have a makeup class, and that's a class that we had on Friday. And on Friday, again, because I did realize that lenses are really key in terms of the kind of work that we do. That's why I made that particular decision so that you can be able to have a lengthy discussion about lenses. So, this particular week, I want us to be able to talk about the 5 C's of cinematography. And the reason why I want us to talk about the 5 C's of cinematography is because when we began defining and talking about cinematography, I remember to have told you that cinematography is the art of visual storytelling. And if it's the art of visual storytelling, then that visual storytelling will basically come from us talking about the C's of cinematography. So that's basically what I want us to have a discussion on today. And I would appreciate if we, as we move along, you can be able to let me know if my voice is okay through the public chat, so that I do not lose you and you do not lose me as we move along. Now, as we talk about these 5 C's of cinematography, I would want to believe that at one particular point in time, we might have talked about one or two things that relates to the things that you're talking about today. But today, we would want to turn our eyes on basically what is this that we are talking about when we talk about the 5 C's of cinematography. Now, I want to um, that you can be able to see what I'm actually writing on the screen. Um, you can be able what I've written. Trevor, unaona kitu chenye nimeandika kwa ukuta?
Yeah, yes, yes.
Oh. So when we talk about the 5 C's of cinematography, there's nothing so strange about the 5 C's of cinematography. But what we are talking about is particular terms that start with the letter C. And this is something that was actually defined by a guy known as Joseph, who came up with a particular style of how cinematography can work for us. How is it that you can be able to communicate visually? Because in cinematography, we better say that you can only communicate if you can be able to tell a story without the words. That whatever that you are going to see from the beginning all the way to the end, it can be able to tell us something. It can be able to communicate or convey a particular message without us using any particular single word. So for us to be able to achieve that particular way of telling stories without using words, then this he actually came up with these 5 C's that will enable you to be able to pass across a particular message that can be able to reach that particular audience without you using any particular words. And one of those particular C's of the 5 C's of cinematography is what we call the camera angles. Camera uh, angles. Now, forgive my slow pace of typing because I'm holding the microphone on one hand and I'm also using the other hand actually to be able to type. And that's why that's why you can be able to have that slow speed of typing. So, one, we talk about the camera angles. What are these camera angles? Now, when we talk about the camera angles, we refer to the angle with which the camera is positioned, which the camera is positioned. We talk about the angle which the camera is positioned. Now, when we talk about the camera, the angle which the camera is positioned, now you get to realize that for you to be able to tell a particular message, naturally, we have
Excuse me, sir. I can't hear you clearly. Mr. Rollins.
Hello, guys. Skyna.
Yes.
Yeah, I lost touch because power imepotelea kidogo, lakini nimerudi. And now we can be able to continue from where we had actually left.
Yes. Hello.
I'm saying continue from where we had left. Naona vizuri. Jacinta, Grace, and Momo. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Jacinta?
I'm good.
I'm good. Actually, I had lost power, and that's why it gone off. But now we can be able to pick it up.
Yes, I hear you well.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you very much. Now, like I was saying, we want to talk about the five C's of cinematography, and as we talk about the five C's of cinematography, we we had actually initially talked about cinematography being an art of visual storytelling. So how do you visually tell stories? Now there's a way you can be able to design and compose your visuals so that they can be able or they can be able to enable you to pass that particular information or that particular message that you have that particular target audience that you have. And when you do so, then paramount then we talk about the five C's of cinematography. And when I'm saying these five C's of cinematography, something that was actually designed by Joseph, he actually came up with terms that start with the letter C, so that when you put and you think about these five terms, they can enable you now to be able to um, 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 they can enable you to visually package your information so that that particular information can pass onto that particular audience that you have in mind. So that's basically what we want to have a discussion on. And like I said, uh, the first C of the five C's of cinema is actually what we refer as camera angles. And what are these camera angles? When we talk about angles, we are talking about an angle which is actually positioned. Where do you place your camera vis-a-vis the subject that you'd want to videograph or the subject that you want to take a video of? So, which are these? Now, if you can allow me to have this afresh, kindly. I'm hoping that you can be able to see I'm actually what I'm able to write on this particular screen. So we are talking about the five C's of cinematography. So the number one C is what we call camera angles. Now, when you talk about the camera angles, we are looking into the angle which camera is positioned. Where do you place the camera so that at the end of the day you can be able to have that particular video you want? That's very key because that particular angle is actually what determines the kind of image or subject that you're going to have and the kind of information you want to deliver, because every angle where you or exactly when you position a camera at a given point, there's a particular message that you'd want to deliver in a very quiet manner. For example, when we talk about now uh, the common way or the common position where we place the camera, more especially when we're shooting the news or when you're shooting an interview or when you're doing these soap operas, normally what we do is we have an eye level uh, angle, eye level angle. This is a very uh, kind of neutral kind of a neutral kind of camera angle. So what will happen is you have that particular subject and you have the camera, and with the camera now you can be able to make use of a support equipment like a tripod stand or a monopod stand, or sometimes you can make a crane or a jeep or you can even use you can even use your hands, so that the level or the height of the subject that you're shooting is actually at the same level with the camera that you have. So when you have that particular kind of shot, what you'll be communicating to the audience is that this is the normal way of how we look into people. This is the normal way of how we look into subjects, various subjects that we come across every single day. So it's one particular way of how you would want to place a camera and tell people that whom that you're seeing, which that you're seeing is actually a natural thing. It has no significance. It's neither so minute, neither is it so powerful. It's that normal subject that we have on every day. For example, when you meet your colleague or meet your friend, you seem to be people who have been meeting for some time. No one is taking the other to be higher than the other. So what will happen at that particular point in time? We'll tend to believe that these people are actually at the normal level. Another angle that we have under camera angles is what we call the angle, high angle. Uh, which is actually very um, diminishing to the subject. Now, when you talk about an eye angle, what we're looking into is where is the camera? The camera is actually up, have that particular subject. And when you talk about this eye angle, it can be an eye angle that's at a particular degree, or probably about 45 degrees to the subject, or sometimes it can be straight up, what we call the bird's eye angle. And what this basically does is to diminish the subject that we're seeing. It denies that particular subject authority and the power that is actually supposed to. So when you would want to communicate a particular message, you would want to place your camera eye up there. And when you place your camera eye up there, you're going to tell the audience that is going to watch or see this particular video that subject that you're looking below or under there. It's a small thing, don't mind about it. If it means crashing, we can actually crash that particular subject. So that's how you basically communication visually without even the use of words. That's the moment you will see that eye angle shot, then we'll be able to tell that subject there is so minute, it has no significance in the story. So you can't be able to communicate that without the use of words. Then another angle is what we call the low angle. This low angle actually communicates the message that this is a very powerful subject. If it's not powerful, then this particular subject has authority. This particular subject has authority. So what will happen at the end of the day is you can make a decision to place your camera below the subject that you want to shoot. And like I've said, like the eye angle, the low angle also can be at given degrees. You can have the subject at a given degree, like 45 degrees, or it can be right down 0 degrees. I mean 90 degrees. That means that particular subject is going to be very powerful when we look into that particular subject. Look into a scenario where we have a 1 year, 2 years old baby looking up at a giant. That particular baby will be looking into that very powerful person who can crush him or her very powerful person, a person who has authority. For example, if you want to communicate a message, this is the savior, this is the person who is going to save the rest of the society from this particular point. You have to make use of that particular low angle shot so that at the end of the day, you can be able to communicate the message that you would want to communicate. Then we have what we call, though normally not very common, is what we call the Dutch angle. Now, the Dutch angle is how you place your camera, in a particular angle, not from below so much, and not from tilted in a particular manner. It is a tilted uh, angle. At the end of the day, what it brings is it actually brings a lot of grammar. Like you might look into a particular subject and think that that particular subject is actually spinning. That's what we call the Dutch angle shot. That kind of angle also communicates a particular message. It's a very dramatic kind of way, or a kind of an angle that enables you now to be able to create a particular message. So when we talk about now the 5 C's of cinematography, we are looking into these one, the camera angles. And like I've said, the camera angles are actually about 4 of them. Again, like I've told you, now people can subdivide the 4 angles that we have and come up with 10 of them on you. But the very basic ones are, one, the eye level, which is a neutral, normal way of how we look at the subject. We have the eye angle, where you place the camera above the subject. Then we have the low angle, where you place the camera below the subject. And then we have the Dutch angle, where the camera is going to be slightly below the subject, looking up at a particular, tilted in a particular manner, so that it can be able to communicate that particular message. So let me now use drawings so that you can be able to see now where do you place these particular cameras. And for us to be able to see that, let me use this one so that I can be able to. Now, this is the ground. This is the ground there. This is the ground there. Then what's going to likely to happen is we are going to have a subject. This is going to be the subject there. This is the subject here. Okay. So if this is the subject, then eye level angle, you're going to place the camera right here. This is going to be the camera. Then it will be able to take the subject like that. Now, if you place yourself here, this is the position that you'll be. Now, you look into this subject at that particular level. It's the normal way of how we see. So this is going to be the camera. This is going to be the subject. So this is, when you look into this particular subject here, if you draw a particular line along here, that particular angle there, you'll get that you have created a 90 degrees horizontally. So when you make this horizontally, sometimes it can be like between 60 and about 120. That here is what you shall be able to make use of, so that you can be able to know that's a normal eye level, or a normal level, or an eye level, where you are looking into the subject across you're not taking your eyes up, you're not taking your eyes down. But when you look actually across. And when you do so, they'll be able to see that particular subject in that particular. So this is what we call the high level angle. This is basically very neutral way of shooting things. You when you're doing so, you're communicating the simple message that these are normal everyday things that we see. You're not communicating another hidden message. There is no hidden message there. The message is that these are normal things that life. So, is there a question in relation to the high level angle?
Oh,
A question?
I'm okay.
Okay. Trevor's Kiamba. Jacinta Okosawa. And Trevor's Grace.
Yeah, I'm okay.
So from there, let's move and talk about now the high level. Now, when you talk about the high level, this is the ground. My drawings. This is the ground here. So if we have the ground here, then what we're going to have now is somewhere there. So this is the subject. This is the subject. Then, because we want to have a low angle, so what we'll be able to have is we are going to have camera placed at this particular point here, and the camera will be able to take this particular shot, that particular direction. And normally, this will be if we're able to make use of the protractor, either to in high school, we'll get to realize that this will be a 90 degree. This angle will be 90. So anything that is going to be probably between 60 and 90 there, this from here, it's going to be 60 about 60 degrees. And between this particular point here and this other point here, it's going to be 90. So anything that we are going to focus towards this particular direction shall be an high angle. A low angle. A low angle because we are looking into the camera visual subject. It's actually the camera's position that determines the name of the angle. If you place the camera up, it shall be high angle. If you place the camera down, it shall be a low angle. It's not the subject that determines the name of the angle, but it's the camera that actually determines the name of the angle. So if you place the camera right here and you place that protractor here, to be able to tell you that there will be about 60 degrees direction that's here, or 45. Sometimes it can be 80, sometimes it can be 90. Again, we are having a 90 degrees, if we are going to have 90 degrees here, what shall be able is we shall have what we refer as the worm's eye view angle. hivi tulikuwa tunafanya tukiwa art and craft, tuna the worm's eye view or the bird's what eye view. So we have the worm's eye view angle, then it means that this is going to be a 90 degrees kind of direction. So what shall happen there is what we shall be able to refer as an eye angle, a low angle shot. Low angle shot is a very powerful shot that communicates a lot of messages to the audience that we'll be seeing, because we normally have a relationship between us and the subjects that we'll be able to see on the screen. So when you see a subject on the screen higher than you, because the camera takes your position, and when you shall be watching, you will be behaving like the camera. Where the camera will be positioned is actually where you shall be. So when you're positioned here and you're looking at this particular subject here, then this will mean that at the end of the day, that particular subject is going to be very, very powerful. And if this particular subject is going to be very powerful, again, you guys, a low angle makes subjects to look much bigger than normally they might be, depending on also how the kind of shots that you will be able to have. So what will happen is this shall be able to communicate that simple message that this is a very powerful person. If you're going out to shoot, for example, the day I'm thinking and I'm hoping that the president is going to make a public about the COVID-19 and kind of lockdown that we have in the country. If you're going there, one of the instructions that you normally get from the president's presidential press service is that they will tell you, if they realize that you're not going to toe their line, is that a camera shall never ever be at the same level with the president or above the president. Why? They would want you to be slightly below the president's level so that you can be able to communicate quietly and in a very covert way that the president is that powerful person that we have in the country. So that's what's likely to happen. And that's what we call the low angle. And when Joseph was coming up with this particular 5 C's of cinematography, was looking into what would be the best way message if we want to tell stories visually, because cinematography is about telling stories visually. So that's about the low angle. Then let's have now. This is sound like I've told you. The of patients. This is the subject there. Have so we are going to have now the camera at this particular position somewhere here, and when the camera is going to shoot, this is going to be direction subject that they are going to. If you look into this particular, if we place the line here, and place the camera, the tracker here, you will get to, it's not going to be normal 90 degrees. It's going to be apart 90 degrees, go to 90. This is 90 to 180. So this will be about 1.5 degrees. That might be about 145 degrees, might be about 160 degrees. And if it's going to be 180 degrees, can you switch off your mic? So what will happen? What will happen at this particular point in time is you get there. If it's going to be 180 degrees, it will be something like you're pressing the camera here, and the subject will be directly below what? Camera. And this is what we call the bird's eye view. Bird's eye view angle. But if we have the camera where we are, and you're able to have a direction of about, between between 90 and 180, then what you shall be able to hear is a high angle shot. And that is a shot or an angle that actually communicates a message that the subject that you're seeing right here has no significance. This particular subject doesn't really matter. And we can do anything that we want. If this particular subject right here is going to communicate using words, then we might not take them seriously the way we could have taken the words subject that we have of a low angle shot. That's how it is. And when you now put your camera in any particular level,
Right.
shot, it will be able to communicate a message. And we need to be very careful because we might be thinking that we are placing the camera here so that at the end of the day, we do not be communicating a particular message. This particular subject. Skyna.
Yes.
Skyna. Skyna. Let me be
Yes.
Yes.
Can
you kindly your microphone is creating an echo?
Yes.
Your microphone is actually creating an echo.
Mm-hmm.
Can you switch it off kindly?
Okay.
The mic. Yeah, you're
muted. Muted. Nilikuwa nimekaa hapa chini na venye amelala hivi. Ananisukuma na venye amenyoroka hivi, ananisukuma. Sasa namwambia lale vizuri na hapa.
So I've actually muted Sukaina from my side. Let me hope that she will be able to remain like that up to the end, so that we do not have that particular echo. And you have heard several times, even from radio, people tell you always when you're calling back to the studio, switch off your radio. The reason is you're getting that particular echo, and that echo is not something that can be good, one, to the user, and that's the presenter, and two, to the listeners out there who will be listening to the program. So that is what we call the eye angle, like audio. And like I've said, these angles are not basically for the sake of taking videos. They have a particular message that they actually communicate to that particular audience that we have. So at whatever point in time when you're shooting a particular video, always at the back of your mind, ask yourself, what kind of message do you want to pass across. You want to tell this audience that this particular individual doesn't matter, you don't have even to tell them. Change the position of your camera. Let it be an eye angle kind of shot. Then you will be telling the audience that this person does not really matter. If you want to tell the audience that this particular individual is that powerful, change the position of that particular camera. And at the end of the day, what's going to happen is the message. So that's now that's number one. We're talking about the 5 C's of cinematography. The second C of cinematography is C of cinematography. I can be able to write something. Is what we call continuity. Now, we have looked at the first C. We have said it's camera angles. The second C, that's second C in 5 C's of cinematography, is what we call continuity. Now, when you talk about continuity, we are looking into we are looking into how do we give complete, how do we give a complete idea or information in any particular video that we are shooting. Now, I want you to look into this particular scenario so that we can be able to understand exactly what is it that we mean by continuity. Now, many times when we are shooting video, sometimes we need to be able to look at it from the eyes of one, the director, and two, the eyes of the editor. The reason why, like for example, we looked into the entire production process is because we wanted to be able to know where do we come in and what do we do, and that which we do, how is it going to be able to help other people. And we saw that when we talk about production, we come in at the initial stages, that's pre-production, and we stick there until we get into post-production. So continuity, how do you shoot a particular video so that at the end of the day you shall be able to give the audience a complete idea or information and present that particular information in a logical sequence. How do you present that particular information idea in a logical sequence so that at the end of the day, those people who shall be able to watch your video from the beginning to the end, they will be able to know that this is the message that is actually given out. Look into an example like this one. We have a particular individual, and this particular individual has a dagger in his hand or on her hand. Then this particular individual wants to stab somebody who is actually in a particular room. And the person who is coming into this particular room, this person who has a dagger in his or her hand, is coming to this particular room in a very stealthy manner. Ananyemelea, ile kunyemelea so that asije akasikika. So in most movies or videos that we have watched, you'll be able to see that the camera person will start with the feet of this particular individual. Then this particular individual walks a step after another a step after another. Then what the cinematographer does is, as this particular approaches the room, we are actually taken from the feet right onto the knees, then onto the waist, where we can be able to see the hand of this particular individual, plus the dagger that this particular individual is actually holding. Then, as this particular individual walks into that particular room, then we are taken up and up until we can be able to see the face of that particular individual. Then from there, it's cut and we are shown the person who is going to be shot. And we are taken back again to this, not really shot, but the person who is going to be stabbed. Then we are taken back again onto the person who is going to stab the other. Then it can be like now back and forth, back and forth. Then we can be able to see the reactions of these particular individuals. That's their visual reactions. What are they reacting to? And is the person who is going to be stabbed fearing, or is the person ready to receive that particular stab? The person who is going to stab the other one, how is he or she behaving? Is this particular individual angered about what probably had happened previously? When we see that, you get to realize that, that's an idea that is actually presented in a particular logical sequence. And the person who can present this is actually the cinematographer, that you can be able to see the person from the feet. We ask ourselves, where is this person going? Who could this person be? Then it follows with now the revealing of that particular individual. Now, from the feet up to the waist, then we are seeing this particular dagger. Then we are worried, even as a very dramatic way of doing things. We are scared that somebody is going to be stabbed, is going to be killed in this particular scene. That is how you present information in a logical sequence. The moment you present that, even without the use of words, you have involved us, and we know somebody is going to be killed. Not something that we'll be happy about. Probably we'll be happy about it, depending on the sides that we have taken in the story that is being told. If the person who is going to be stabbed is a good person, then we cannot be able to, will not be able to, will not be able to, be happy about it. If it's a person who is the person who is going to be stabbed is that nasty person in the story, that bad guy in the story, then we're waiting. When can this person move? Can this person move with a lot of speed so that anaweza mua hii mambo ya kuharibu ABCD ishi? That can be able to. So you need now to be able to know if you have information from scene one, that scene one information, that scene one's information needs to move to 2, needs to take us to 3, needs to take us to 4, to that particular point, so that we get 5, we would have known things are very okay now. This is the message that this particular individual wanted to be able to accept. So that's something that you need to that's something that you need to be able to look into. How can you be able to present continuity? Can one lead us to B? Can one lead us to 2? Can 2 lead us to 3? Can 3 lead us to 4? Then finally we know we are 5, and this is the stage that we wanted to be able to have. That's something that you need to be able to look. In any particular kind of work that you do, that's the kind of questions that you need to be able to ask yourself. You need to be able to ask yourself. And as a cinematographer, once you have been given a script, like I told you from the beginning, you need to be able to develop a storyboard. That particular storyboard is what shall be able to guide you in knowing how you can be able to move from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, then finally 5, where we'll be able to make a of the kind of information that you have given us or the kind of idea that you wanted to give us, and how you have presented that in a logical sequence. Kuna swali? Sorry, before I move to the third. Najma Adam. Adan Malim.
No, I have no question.
Jacinta.
No.
Evers.
No.
Grace. Grace confirms she's okay with that. So let's move on to scene number 3, what we call cutting. The reason why I've moved into cutting is because cutting is closely related to continuity. Now, cutting is another term for editing. Now, this is basically how shots are organized. How are shots organized in a particular series? How do you organize shots in a particular series? So that at the end of the day, they will be able to convey a particular message. Now, let's look into a scenario where you are in a particular scene. Let's take an example. The story is about Grace Gidinji and Jacinta Johnson. And these two individuals are good friends, and they happen to be students at Zetech University, and they are seated in a class. And what's happening is that they had or they overheard information about Muli Mumo, who is actually planning to be able to steal Grace's phone. Muli, I'm not calling you a thief. This is for class. I hope you are okay. It can happen. Somebody say, "Oh, Marim is calling me a thief," and I'm not. I do not want to be in that particular scenario. So, Jacinta Johnson and Grace Gidinji are friends and really good friends, and they're in class, and they have actually been given information that actually Muli has planned to be able to steal their phone. So Grace and Grace and Jacinta have actually plotted now a scheme so that they can be able to trap now and actually get Muli stealing their phone. So when they're seated, they sit in a particular manner that they can be able to place the phone, and that particular phone can be seen by where Muli is seated. And when Muli is going to take that particular phone, steal that particular phone from where they are, they can actually be able to record it on phone using another phone, probably that is. So they designed that particular seating arrangement and they place that particular phone there. And Muli happens to be late into class, but they know where he's going to be seated. And it does happen that when Muli knocks on the door and gets in, Grace and Jacinta are actually communicating visually. there are visual gestures that they are communicating to one another, and we can be able to see the camera there. I mean, not the camera, but we can be able to see the phone there, and we are seeing the um, kind of communication that they are actually trying to put across. So what's going to happen? We can be given a shot of Muri coming in, then we can be able to cut from there and move onto Jacinta, then cut and move onto Grace, then cut and move onto where the phone is, and cut and move onto that other phone that is actually going to be used as a, camera for the purpose of recording. So when that happens, then we can go back to Muri now walking so that he can be able to sit where he's seated. Then when Muri sits there, then he sees the phone, and when he sees the phone, we can cut and move and have a shot of the phone and back onto Muri. Then Muri looks onto the two ladies, that's Grace and Jacinta, and sees they are not looking onto his direction. Then he stretches his hand. We can be given that particular shot of how he stretches his hand, picks that particular camera, phone, and places it in his bag and walks out in the pretext that he has forgotten something, goes out and then comes back without that particular phone. Probably he has given it to somebody else, or he has actually hid it somewhere outside. Then he comes back. Then when the class is about to end, then probably now Grace is going to say, "I'm not seeing my phone. Who has taken my phone?" And that's how they're going to trace where the camera has been taken to. So the video of now Muri coming in, taking that particular phone, walking out, and coming back without the phone, then things seem to be normal, but they're not normal. Then we will get to that particular point. So now, cinematographer, to be able to know how do you organize those particular shots in such a series so that at the end of the day you would have presented the information or that particular idea in that logical sequence. So you get to realize that cutting and continuity are closely related. However, continuity is how to present them in a logical sequence so that they can be able to give us that particular information. Cutting is how do you move from one shot to the other, back to the other, then go to another one, so that at the end of the day, in that particular series, you would have told us a particular message. You would have given us a particular information. So that's basically how the third C works. That is cutting. So we have looked down to the camera angles, we have looked down to continuity, we have looked down to cutting, and now we are going to move onto the fourth. Fourth, we are moving on to the fourth C, which we call close-ups. Close-ups. So fourth one is what we refer as close-ups, and when you're talking about close-ups, we have always said that cinematography is a way of telling stories visually. Now, close-ups are actually shots meant if out subject. Shots that are meant to give us details about the subject. And when you talk about these close-ups, we are talking about the various types of you know, when we talk about shots, we have extreme long shots or establishing shots, we have long shots, we have medium shots, we have We have also close-ups. Now, in the category of close-ups, we have extreme close-ups and we have simply close-ups. What do these particular shots do? Now, when we talk about these particular shots, one of the things that they basically do is one of the things that they basically do is actually to hide information about subject. And the second one is they actually reveal information about the subject. How does that happen? Now, when you talk about them reading information about the subject, look into a scenario where the look into a scenario where we have an extreme close-up. Now, when you talk about an extreme close-up, then I think we talked about these shots. It was a question that was asked by only about shots, and I think so. All the same. So when you talk about if we have an extreme close-up, what will happen is the shot shall focus so much onto, let's take an example, one of the eyes, or it shall be able to focus onto the nose, or it shall be able to focus onto the mouth. What that does is actually we'll be able to see the mouth, yes, or the nose, yes, or the eye, yes, but the rest of the subject is actually going to be hidden. That means we could have hidden a lot of information. That's where you get to the answer. If you're shooting a particular video and you realize that a subject has particular mistakes in terms of probably the makeup, in terms of there's something that you do not want the audience to see, you can hide that particular information and focus our attention to a particular area, a particular spot of that particular subject, and that will be it. And also, when you look into revealing information about the subject, when you take us to the eye of that particular subject, you will be telling us a lot about that particular subject's feelings, probably. Because the eyes also have a way that they communicate a lot. Or if you take us so close to the nose, you'll be telling us the formation of that particular nose of that particular individual. Those of us who have pointed noses, those of us who have flat noses, those of us who have short noses, there's a particular message that you want to tell us about it, and you will be able to reveal such kind of information. So the best thing that you can be able to do is if you get to do that. So that's how that happens. Those apps are very powerful, that they can be able to give us a lot of details, and sometimes they can add a lot of a lot of information on. So when you're communicating, if you do not want to say something, make use of close-ups. If you want to tell us so much about a subject, give us close-ups. A normal close-up will tell us the feelings of an individual. Kama tutakuwa na uso wako, na wale watu ambao wanakwambia, they can look at you and they will know what you're thinking about. So if you'd want to tell us what a certain individual is thinking about, kama ameudhika, amefurahi, smile, anacheka, give us a close-up of that particular individual space. We will be able to know everything about what this particular subject is. And lastly, we have the other C, which is the fifth one, what we call vision. That's the last C in five five C's of cinematography. It's this is meant to be able to tell us shots the shots, but this is meant to be able this is to show us how things are arranged and organized. Or in so when you have been presented with a script, like I told you, the first thing that you need to think about is how do you come up with storyboard? And the storyboard is going to tell you exactly how you're going to arrange the subjects in that particular shot that you're going to do. So let's look into a scenario where the example that you have used of Grace and Jacinta and Muri. And the moment we have done that, so the moment you realize the moment you realize that you are going to have these three individuals, these are the three actor and actress that we have, and we also have other subjects. How are you organizing them in that particular room? Where will they be positioned? So that when we have now the camera recording them, we have the phone that is going to be stolen. We have Muri who is going to come in and sit, probably is going to be late. Then we have Grace and Jacinta seated. How are they going to be seated? How are the seats going to be arranged? Are we going to cut the people that we are going to see up to within that particular shot? So when you make such kind of arrangements and organize those particular props, organize those particular subjects or actors and actresses, how you do that, that's what you call composition. So that at the end of the day, what we are going to see inside there has to have a reason why it's there. You can't have everybody in there for the sake of having them. You must be able to have people whom you want to tell a particular message. Grace is going to be there because our phone is going to be taken. Zinda is going to be there because probably our phone is the one that is going to record how Mumo is going to come and steal the phone. Mumo is going to be there because he is the key culprit in terms of stealing the phone from this particular classmate. Then we are going to have these other students so that you can be able to tell this is a class, this is not a market, and this is not a home, this is a class, and these are classmates. And in a class, you can have good classmates, you can have bad what classmates, and the good ones are the ones who are going to say no, the phone was there, and probably the person who came in and went out is Mumo, and probably is the one who stolen the phone. Mumo is going to say, can you prove that it's me who stole what the phone? Who is going to prove that is actually Jacinta, because with her phone she actually made it to so so how are you going to have them? Then the other things that you're going to look into, how nicely is this going to look like? look into the kind of colors that are going to be there, look into the seating arrangement. You cannot just haphazardly place individuals. They must be seated in a particular design. They must be seated in a particular arrangement or in a particular order. Probably the most common one is rows and columns. But you can make a decision to break that principle of rows and columns, and you have your own design. Probably they're going to be seated in a circle. Probably they are going to be seated in a triangle kind of arrangement. It's you to design that. So that's what we call composition. So if you take you get hold of composition, close-ups, cutting, continuity, and camera angles, then I'm telling you at the end of the day, you'll be able to convey a message even without the use of words. And that's why you get to realize that we have a lot of movies, we have a lot of films that actually people do not speak anything. When they are doing something, you do not need somebody to come and explain to you how they are doing it. You'll be able to get the message, and you'll be able to be at a position now to be able to tell that particular story to another. Why? Because the person who was doing cinematography there knew how to make use of camera angles, knew how to make use of continuity, knew how to make use of cutting, knew how to make use of close-ups, and knew how to make use of composition, so that at the end of the day they could be able to communicate. And that's how a good cinematographer should be able to. Question. Jacinta, Jared, Juliet, Kimodo, Muri, Mudhuri, Lewis, Najma. Swali. Trevor Kiamba.
No. No.
Yes, confirms, no question. Najma. Confirms, no question. Lewis, Mudhuri. Lewis. Jacinta.
No.
No question. Juliet.
No question. No question, sir.
No question. That's okay. Jared Oguya, Ouya. Jared confirms is okay. So if there is no question now, what I would want you to do, actually there's a card that I actually posted on the Moodle. Let me hope that you have attempted that. Now I'm going to upload notes on today's lesson, and I'm also going to post some videos there that will add more information to what we have discussed. And if you feel there is a particular area that you'd want me to clarify, an area that you'd want me to talk about, I'm always available. You can actually ask a question. I will be able to take that and so let me thank you for your continued stay. Last like 1.5 hours. It's not that easy when you are alone and probably you're at home, and there are other things that other roles that are actually looking at to you. Thank you very much for staying close, and so enjoy your remaining part of the day, and let's meet next week when cinematography.